Greetings of peace and goodwill to all of us. I am Dr. Meremy Ramos, Education Program Specialist from the Department of Education, the Now City Division. It is my honor and privilege to be the resource speaker for today's session for the topic Data Collection the Quantitative Way. And a warm gratitude to my EdCore family for this opportunity. Before we start our session proper, let me present to you our session objectives. At the end of the session, the participants with at least 80% level of accuracy are able to enumerate the quantitative research data collection methods, evaluate each data collection method based on its uses, and realize the importance of determining the appropriate data collection method based on the research objectives. What is quantitative data collection? Quantitative data collection is the process of gathering information through figures and numbers. This type of data collection is often used in surveys, experiments, and other research methods. It measures variables and establishes relationships between variables. The data collected through quantitative methods is typically in the form of numbers, such as response frequencies, means, and standard deviations, and can be analyzed using statistical software. Researchers often rely on quantitative data when they intend to quantify attributes, attitudes, behaviors, and other defined variables with a motive to either back or oppose the hypothesis of a specific phenomenon by contextualizing the data obtained. What are the importance of quantitative data collection? Quantitative data collection is important for several reasons. First is the objectivity. Quantitative data collection provides objective and verifiable information as the data is collected in a systematic and standardized manner. The insights gathered from quantitative data are numbers-based, making the conclusions less subjective. For example, say a business surveys customers on whether they prefer the company logo in blue or red, and the majority of the respondents choose red. The company can choose whether or not to act on this information. But the findings aren't subjective. Respondents clearly preferred red. Second is generalizability. The research from quantitative data collection can be generalized to a larger population, making it an effective way to study large groups of people. Third, precision. Numerical data allows for precise measurement and unit of analysis, providing more accurate results than other data collection forms. Fourth, hypothesis testing. Quantitative data collection allows for testing hypotheses and theories, leading to a better understanding of the relationships between variables. Fifth, comparison. Quantitative data collection allows for data comparison and analysis. It can be useful in making decisions and identifying trends or patterns. Researchers can easily compare quantitative data from different time periods and research samples. It's relatively simple to spot trends or identify unusual behaviors when analyzing different groups of numbers. And the last one is replicability. The nature of quantitative data makes it easier to replicate research results. It is essential for building knowledge in a particular field. Quantitative data collection provides valuable information for better understanding complex phenomena and making informed decisions based on empirical evidence. What are quantitative data collection methods? Any traditional or online data collection method that helps in gathering numerical data is proven method of collecting quantitative data. The choice of data collection method will depend on the research question, the study design, the type of data to be collected, and the available resources. Thus, researchers must choose appropriate data collection methods and approaches. What are the two types of quantitative data collection methods? There are two main types of data collection methods. These are primary data and secondary data collection methods. Primary data collection methods are collected directly from the study participants and used expressly for research purposes. The data collected are specifically targeted at the research question, hypothesis, and aims. Examples of primary data include surveys, interviews, and observations. But the secondary data collection methods involve using data that are already in existence, data from someone else. We have here the first primary data collection methods are surveys. Surveys are research methods that use questionnaires to gather information from a specific set of respondents, evaluate this data, and draw conclusions. Researchers use surveying strategies to generalize results and obtain accurate statistical analysis. This research process is typically used for scientific, academic, and business research studies across practically every industry. The respondents who participate in surveys are chosen through standardized procedures and preliminary screenings to eliminate the risk of biases. There are two types of surveys. These are online and in-person or offline surveys. Online surveys are a common and effective way of collecting data from a large number of people. These are easy, quick, and cost-effective. They tend to make made up of close-ended questions so that responses across the sample are comparable. Online surveys are quick and easy to send out, typically done so through survey panels. They can also appear in pop-ups on websites or via link embedded in social media. From the participant's point of view, online surveys are convenient to complete and submit using whichever device they prepare, mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Anonymity is also viewed as a positive. Online survey software ensures respondents' identities are kept completely confidential. While online surveys are by far the most common way to collect quantitative data in today's modern age, there are still some harder to reach respondents where other mediums can be beneficial. For example, those who aren't tech savvy or who don't have a stable internet connection. For these days, audiences, offline surveys may be needed. In-person or offline surveys. Through much sure to come across these days are a way of gathering respondent feedback without digital means. This could be something like postal or mail survey questionnaires that are sent to a sample population and asked for return the questionnaire by mail, like the census, or telephone surveys where questions are asked of respondents over the phone. Offline surveys certainly take longer to collect than online surveys, and they can become expensive if the population is difficult to reach, requiring a higher incentive. As with online surveys, anonymity is protected, assuming the mail is not intercepted or lost. Despite the major difference in data collection to an online survey, offline survey data is still reported on in aggregated numeric fashion. There are two main considerations in relation to design principles, and these are content and layout and sequence. In terms of content, it is important to review the literature for related validated survey tools, as this saves time and allows for the comparison of results. Additionally, researchers need to minimize complexity by using simple, direct language, including only relevant and accurate questions with no jargon. Concerning layout and sequence, there should be a logical flow of questions from general and easier to more sensitive ones, and the questionnaire should be as short as possible and not overcrowded. Steps in developing survey questionnaires. First, clarify the purpose or objective. Determine the length of the questionnaire, the target population, sample, the number and size of respondents or participants, and how the survey questionnaires will be administered. Second, it is erroneous to use a survey questionnaire where a qualitative exploratory approach is needed. Third, you could use an existing previously validated and published instrument, if available, rather than trying to design a new questionnaire. There are lots of validated or standardized questionnaires in other research topics, depending on your research question. It is imperative to search the literature for existing tools before attempting to develop one. However, if no validated tools exist, you may consider developing and validating a new tool. Fourth, we have here the tool measures what it claims to measure or the validity and will yield consistent results across time from repeated samples and different researchers. We have the fifth, consider the target populations in terms of number and size of participants, as well as the type of variables to be collected. For example, we have here the demographics, attitudes, perceptions, and others, and the participants' requirements, confidentiality, accessibility, or diversity. This is important in terms of internal validity, whether the findings are accurate or true, and external validity, the extent to which the findings can be generalized to the target population and other settings. We have the sixth one, determine the format and wording for each question. Create the questionnaire or survey structure and question sequence. 7. It is important to pilot test your questionnaire before full use. This means the questionnaire is presented to a subset of the target population to help test the content validity of the survey questions. 8. To get an adequate response rate, you need to explicitly communicate the value and ethical considerations of your research to prospective participants by providing an information sheet and consent form. You could also provide incentives and follow up with reminders to enhance the response rate. Remember to end the questionnaire with a thank you for your participation message to the participants. General guidelines for question wording. It is important to carefully craft survey questions to ensure that they are clear, unbiased, and accurately capture the information researchers seek to gather. Clearly written questions with consistency in wording increase the likelihood of obtaining accurate and reliable data. Poorly crafted questions, on the other hand, may sway respondents to answer in a particular way, which can undermine the validity of the survey. The following are some general guidelines for question wording. First, ask precise questions and do not use ambiguous and vague words. For example, do not ask a patient, how was your clinic experience? What do you mean by clinic experience? Are you referring to their interactions with nurses, doctors, or psychotherapists? Instead, consider using a better phrase question such as, please rate your experience with a doctor during your visit today. Second, some questions may have dual questions. For example, do you think you should eat less and exercise more? Instead, ask, do you think you should eat less? Or do you think you should exercise more? Third, negatively worded questions can be confusing. For example, I find it difficult to fall asleep unless I take sleeping pills. A better phrase is, sleeping pills make it easy for me to fall asleep. Fourth, it is better to ask for more precise information. For example, what is your age in years? Is preferable to which age category do you belong to? Below 18 years old, 18 to 25, 25 to 35, or above 35. The options will give more room for errors because the options are not mutually exclusive. These are overlaps and not exclusive. There are older age groups above 35 years. Fifth, leading questions reduces objectivity and make respondents answer in a particular way. Questions related to values and beliefs should be neutrally phrased. For example, the question, conducting research is challenging. Does research training help to prepare you for your research project? Is worded in a leading way. An appropriate alternative, research training prepares me for my research project. Strongly agree, agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. Advantages of surveys. First, surveys can be completed through online and offline formats. Second, surveys are economical, especially using online formats as you send links to your participants. Third, surveys can be easily distributed to the participants even through online or offline formats. Fourth, surveys offer flexibility as the response's identity can be identified and or hidden. We have here disadvantages of surveys. There are some respondents who were dishonest in responding to surveys as they want to please the researchers or might have other hidden reasons. Second, there are times that the respondents will not respond all the items in the survey forms. It might be they did not fail to answer the item, or some of them might overlook the items. When to use the surveys. Surveys are the most appropriate quantitative data collection methods if you have a large number of target respondents. Let's proceed to the second primary data collection methods, which are interviews. You can also collect quantitative data through interviews. Quantitative interviews are very structured. If you attempt to utilize interviews in quantitative design, be careful to structure your interview questions accordingly. You will need to stick to close-ended questions with a set of answer options that don't allow for responses with detailed context. Interviewers ask respondents close-ended questions. The way in which you conduct the interviews is another consideration. To avoid flaws in your research, you will need to employ the same script for every interview. This means reading the same questions in the same order and refraining from inserting additional words or phrases. Even if an impromptu question occurs to you during an interview, you cannot ask it because you cannot deviate from the script. The advantage of structured interviews is that the interviewer can pace the survey, making sure the respondent gives enough consideration to each question. It also adds a human touch, which can be more engaging for some respondents. On the other hand, for more sensitive issues, respondents may feel more inclined to complete a survey online for a greater sense of anonymity. So it also depends on your research questions, the survey topic, and the audience you're researching. There are four major types of interviews conducted for data collection. The first one is face-to-face interview or in-person interview. They can be thought of as a survey, but in a verbal, in-person, or face-to-face format. It is a proven technique to collect data directly from the participants. It helps in acquiring quality tasks as it provides a scope to ask detailed questions and proving further to collect rich and informative data. Literacy requirements of the participants are irrelevant as face-to-face surveys offer ample opportunities to collect non-verbal data through observation or to explore complex and unknown issues. Although it can be an expensive and time-consuming method, the response rates for face-to-face interviews are often higher. Second, we have here phone interviews. Allow interviewers to reach interviews anywhere with phone service. However, there's no eye contact or nonverbal communication. For years, phone interviews ruled the charts of data collection methods. Third, virtual interviews. Using platforms like Zoom, Skype, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet remove geographical restrictions on the interview. Researchers can reach respondents live anywhere with an internet connection. Fourth, computer-assisted personal interviewing or CAPI. It has a similar step or set up with a face-to-face interview where the interviewer carries a desktop or laptop along with him all the time of interview to upload the data obtained from the interview directly into the database. Copy saves a lot of time in updating and processing the data and also makes the entire process paperless as the interviewer does not carry a bunch of papers and questionnaires. Advantages of interviews. First, rapport is established between the researcher and respondents as they may feel at ease with each other. Second, interviews can be conducted either one-on-one or in a small group. Disadvantages of interviews. First, interviews might not be that economical compared with other quantitative data collection methods, as these demand high labor costs. This may be time-consuming as the researcher and respondent must have similar time to conduct the interviews. Second, a small number of target participants might be interviewed due to its high labor costs and time restrictions. When to use. Use interviews when you want to establish more personal connections with your target participants in gathering quantitative data. The third primary data collection methods are observations. Observation studies in quantitative research are similar in nature to a qualitative ethnographic study, in which a researcher also observes the participants in their natural habitats, but these remain focused on the numbers. How many people do an action? How much of a product consumer pick up or others? Researchers collect quantitative data through systematic observations by using techniques like counting the number of people present at the specific event at a particular time and at a particular venue, or number of people attending the event in a designated place. More often, for quantitative data collection, the researchers have a naturalistic observation approach. It needs keen observation skills and senses for getting the numerical data about the what and not about why and how. For quantitative data, researchers will generally conduct structured observations. In this type of observation method, the researcher has to make careful observations of one or more specific behaviors in a more comprehensive or structured setting. The researchers observe a group of people to note a specific type of behavior and record its frequency. To conduct structured observations, you will first identify the specific behaviors on which you intend to focus. Then you will record those behaviors as they happen. This process will produce your calculations. Examples: how many times a particular event happens, or how many times a particular action happens. Advantages of observations. First, observations allow the researcher to gather a lot of research data in one setting or snapshot. Second, the collected data from the observations are very specific to the researcher's targets or objectives. Disadvantages of observations. Oftentimes, there are no interactions between the researchers and participants, so connections are difficult to establish. Second, the research data cannot be gathered if the researcher is not at the exact time and venue of when and where to conduct the study. A proper timing is a must in conducting observation. When to use. Observation is the most appropriate quantitative data collection method if your research purpose is to quantify a specific behavior of your participant in the specified time or place. The secondary data collection method, which is a document review, is a process used to collect data after reviewing the existing documents. It is an efficient and effective way of gathering data as documents are manageable. Those are the practical resources to get qualified data from the past, apart from strengthening and supporting the research and providing supplementary research data. Document review has emerged as one of the beneficial methods to gather quantitative research data. The three primary document types are being analyzed for collecting supporting quantitative research data. The first one, we have public records. Under this document review, official ongoing records of an organization are analyzed for further research. For example, annual reports, policy manuals, student activities, game activities in the university, or census records. Second, personal documents. In contrast to public documents, this type of document review deals with individual personal accounts of individuals' actions, behavior, health, physique, or others. For example, the height and weight of the students. Distant students are traveling to attend the school. Student report cards, and others. Third, we have the physical evidence or physical documents deal with previous achievements of an individual or of an organizations in terms of monetary and scalable growth. We have here advantages of document reviews. First, researchers save time and resources in collecting research data as documents are already available. Second, researchers' data can be gathered through different people or experts through varied resources, whether printed or online formats. Disadvantage of document reviews. The data might be irrelevant from your research compared to your personal gathered data. When to use the document reviews? Document reviews are useful when you have limited time and resources in gathering your own data, as this might be time efficient. This method also works well when you want to know something about a wide and varied target audience. Thus, the primary data collection methods such as surveys, interviews, and observations involve gathering your own data. With document reviews, as secondary data collection methods entail using others' research, analyzing their data rather than gathering new data directly. Such secondary data are population-based, quicker to access, and cheaper to collect than primary data. There are some drawbacks to this data source. Potential disadvantages include accuracy of the data, completeness and appropriateness of the data, given that the data was collected for an alternative purpose. To sum up, data collection methods are essential for generating evidence-based studies. Each method has benefits and drawbacks of its own. Researchers must determine what kind of data are required to be gathered, given the significance of ensuring that the methods for gathering data are carefully selected, used, and effectively run to deliver precise information that can affirm the caliber of the researchers who understand various methods of gathering data. Here are my references. Bear it in your mind that knowledge about limitations of your data collection process affects what inferences you can draw from the data.